Hello and welcome back to the 3+1 podcast. We talk about people, politics, and pop culture. And today in People, we are talking about Jonathan Majors, who went this morning early in the day to Good Morning America to talk about his recent conviction, reckless assault in the third degree, and harassment. Now, this has been a career-altering moment in the life of Jonathan Majors. Accused of other crimes by his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari, but he was found innocent of those crimes. Now, many people all over social media and society in general are wondering whether or not he is being treated too harshly, and if he is being treated too harshly, what is the cause? The entire Good Morning America interview is worth your time. I am not able, of course, to show all of it, but I am going to show a few key clips from the interview. Of course, I can't show it all because of copyright, but I want you to check this out.
Why did you decide you wanted to talk now?
I felt like it was time. A lot has happened in my personal life, in my career, in the culture. It's about responsibility and coming forward and being brave and giving my part of the story.
Your reaction to that verdict?
Shock. I was absolutely shocked and afraid. And I'm standing there, and the verdict comes down. I say, how is that possible? Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence. How is that possible?
But after only hours of deliberation, a jury of his peers agreed with prosecutors that he did physically injure his then-girlfriend, Grace Jabari, in an incident last March.
What happened exactly, do you know?
No, I don't know. She went conscious.
That 911 call from Majors came hours after an argument broke out with Jabari in the back seat of an SUV when Majors received a text from another woman saying, "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you." Jabari testified that when she grabbed the phone, Majors tried to get it back, fracturing her finger and giving her a cut behind her ear.
She says inside the car, you hit her in the face,
Yeah.
twist her arm behind her back, fracture her middle finger.
Yeah, that did not happen.
How did those injuries come about?
I wish to God I knew. That would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
But you're confident you didn't
I have
cause
no
them.
question.
Surveillance video shows Majors getting out of the car, followed by Jabari, whom he then puts back inside the vehicle. What happens next is what the defense remains focused on. Majors runs off, and Jabari chases after him.
If you watch those videos and you reverse that, and you saw a black man chasing a young white girl down the street, screaming and crying, that man is going to be shot and killed in the streets of New York City.
Majors' defense team shared these photos, which he says show the injuries he received that night, which were deemed inadmissible in court.
How were you injured?
My injuries were a scratch on my hand, from clawing for the phone, and I had a gash on at the time I had a beard. Under my beard, I had essentially a fingernail scratch on my cheek from pressure, and that bled overnight.
But prosecutors say Majors was the aggressor. District Attorney Alvin Bragg says the evidence presented throughout this trial illustrated a cycle of psychological and emotional abuse. In court, prosecutors pointed to a previous argument during which he knocked a candle to the floor.
I completely lost my temper in that moment and threw it all on the ground. It's not something I would want my child to do. And I did that. I absolutely did that. And felt terrible about it.
The prosecution also played audio Jabari had recorded earlier in the relationship where Majors encouraged her to act more like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama.
I'm a great man, a great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me needs to be a great woman.
There are some who question, especially in the black community, as you're probably well aware, that people were saying, well, why was he telling this woman to be like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama?
It was me trying to give an analogy of what it is I'm aspiring to be. You know, these great men, Martin, President Obama, and trying to give a reference point to that. One of the things I also say is, like, I need her, in that case Grace, to make the same sacrifices that I am making.
In a statement to ABC News, an attorney for Jabari said in part, it is not at all surprising that Mr. Majors continues to take no accountability for his actions, adding the timing of these new statements demonstrates a clear lack of remorse for his actions.
Do you feel you're not responsible for her injuries at all?
I shouldn't have been in the car. I shouldn't have stepped out of the relationship. I shouldn't have been in the relationship. If I'm not in the car, none of this is happening. If I leave the relationship, none of this is happening. If I'm man enough or brave enough to say, I want to see somebody else, or I'm done now, I'm not in that car. We're not here. I'm responsible for those things.
But none of her injuries.
I can't say that. None of her injuries.
Also in the interview, he does indeed mention his current relationship with actress Megan Good, where he says that she did hold him down and has been doing so just like Coretta Scott King. Yet again, another reference to the famed civil rights icon and noted wife of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, look, I personally want to see Jonathan Majors win. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a fan, and I've been a fan of his work. He's a phenomenal character method actor. He does amazing work. This man is an award-winning performer. I loved his work in Lovecraft Country, and I've thoroughly enjoyed his rise to success and prominence. Not only am I a fan of Jonathan Majors, but I'm also a fan of Kang the Conqueror, the Marvel character that he was selected to play. I'm a fan of Kang not because of the small bits of Kang that we've seen in the Marvel television series Loki, or the Ant-Man and Quantumania mess that was, or Ant-Man and Wasp and Quantumania mess that Marvel Studios released, I think, a couple of years ago. That's not why I love Kang. I love Kang because I am a lifelong comic book reader, and Kang is one of my favorite characters. Kang the Conqueror was actually the very first childhood Marvel toy or figurine that I ever got. It was purchased for me during the original Secret Wars storyline, and Kang was the character that I love the most. A great villain who might not be as much of a villain as some people think. It just depends on the storyline and depends on your view of Kang and what he does. So I was really excited to see Jonathan Majors cast in this role and to see exactly what he was going to bring to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's literally going to be the star antagonist of the Avengers Kang Dynasty, which is no longer the case. Marvel has released him from all contractual options moving forward after this conviction. Now, I don't think there's a way forward for him, although I kind of wish there was. But again, because I'm a fan of him, I'm a fan of Kang, I am torn about this outcome. I was with this man. I was with this brother. I was with his brother until this man literally got up on the interview and said he did not know where Grace Jabari received those injuries. Like, brother, there was nobody else in the vehicle. I don't know what else could have possibly happened in this case. Now, again, it was revealed that because he received a text from another woman, that's what caused Grace to reach for his phone. In that process, it is alleged still that maybe he hurt her, he broke her finger, he was aggressive with her, and those are all the allegations. If this is played out in court, you can go and watch that. But I think it's a little bit suspect that the physical damage to her body occurred, and you're sitting here saying that you don't know how it happened. I also think that it's only fair to say that the allegations of Jonathan Majors being abusive to not only his partners, but to coworkers on set also surfaced at the time that these allegations were made by Grace Jabari. Rolling Stones magazine supposedly did some in-depth research of Jonathan Majors' past and interviewed over 40 people to say that Majors was a noted source of toxicity while at Yale and a aggressive personality on movie sets. Now, we just saw how things played out for for President Dr. Claudine Gay, the former president of Harvard University. So I want to say that I firmly believe that Black bodies in academically elite spaces like Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and really most academic settings that are not historically Black colleges and universities, face a level of scrutiny, bias, and prejudice that oftentimes goes unnoticed, unknown, and might even be implicit. But I do believe that is a reality. All of that said, I would love to see artistry of Jonathan Major's performance, talents, abilities, and skills brought to our world, but I don't think it's going to happen. And to be honest with you, I don't know if it should. It's what I want, but I don't know if it should. These allegations have now been he was indeed found guilty by a court of law, and I am having to say that domestic violence is never excusable, and there should be consequences for the crime. Are these consequences too grave, too dire? Uh, I don't know. That's not for me to say. That was for his employees to say, and Marvel Studios has decided. Hopefully, he will be able to get other roles, and hopefully, he will be able to rebound from this, and hopefully, we'll be able to see other great pieces of work come from this phenomenally talented actor. I think that the Black community and the entertainment world needs Jonathan Majors. He is an immense talent, and I would love to see that talent continue to shine on screen and film. I also want this to be a cautionary tale to others that domestic violence and abuse is never okay and it's unacceptable. And that if you choose to do these things, if you choose to take these actions, there will be consequences, harsh, possibly even career-ending consequences for those actions. As this continues to play out, I'm going to, of course, continue to follow the story. I appreciate you and thank you for joining me. And guys, keep pushing.